Today I bring you to Manti Memorial Park in southwest Iowa in the United States. I come here often, I live nearby. It's not a well maintained park, mainly due to budget cuts, and for the most part it's closed off, but you're still able to get in and walk around within the grounds. There is a small cemetery nearby. Uh, Back in the 1800s, there was a migration, a Mormon exodus, if you will, that moved from Illinois headed towards the Great Salt Lake Valley. And especially during the winter of 1846, many had stayed in what's now known as Council Bluffs, Iowa, which they called winter quarters. And it was a particularly harsh time to be in that area of the country. Death occurred, freezing, etc. But in the following years that followed, there were many factions, if you will, that chose not to go further towards the Salt Lake Valley, but instead chose to settle here in this part of the Midwest. And so you can uh, directly connect at least 100 communities here in the southwest Iowa region, southeast Nebraska. Over 100 can be directly connected to the Mormon migration to the west. And I do this video not for a historical purpose, but for another reason. There were many who chose to uh, stay behind because they were maybe family prompted it, maybe some other leaders advocated to just stay put. Maybe some had lost their faith and decided that we can't go forward, we can't go back, but we're just going to stay here. And it's partially of that group that I want to speak of. It is interesting how we are so connected in the modern era. We have Wi-Fi, we've got the cell phone, we've got everything to connect us, even visually. But never before in the time of history, I believe, we also feel so disconnected. And I would venture to guess that many of us often feel that we are men without a God to call our own. And I know in my life I've felt that way periodically when times get hard. But as I look out about this memorial park, which isn't maintained, I see grass overgrown, I see trees, all types of things. And I consider the harshness that my forebears of faith endured to just survive. And it's amazing to put that in a perspective and compare it to what you're going through now. And that doesn't make it any better because we are all brought forth, we're called upon to be born into our own generation, according to our own spirits, to endure the hardships of that time. I have a personal testament that God exists. I have a personal feeling that God is very aware of all our wants, our needs, and the things that we're going through. I believe that all these things are not unknown or unforeseen by God. I believe all these things God experienced already, which is a critical criteria to be qualified as a God for us, in my opinion. I can't help anyone out there who may be struggling with their own faith, who are so unsure of themselves, who question if God even exists. All I can do is give you the assurance that I have that He does. And you may be called to endure hardships from day one to your very last breath. But that doesn't make Him unaware of you. That doesn't make Him someone who doesn't have a plan for you. I consider my wife's heritage. She's a Native American of the Prairie Band of Potawatomi tribe. And I consider their hardships and their endurance, not only climate, but also from the government. And yet, here my wife is. She is a part of the culmination of all that coming to bear now. So at the time, tribesmen cursed the government for the behavior towards them, their treatment, and they were rightly so. But none of us can fathom the design of God, because that is timeless and eternal. I doubt the Mormon pioneers of the 1800s could, in their wildest dream, fathom today's reality of anything, whether it be the church, science, education, the world, politics. Same goes with the Native Americans. And yet, here they are. It is all for a reason and a purpose. So for what good it is for you, for what use this information is for you, there is a purpose. And what you need to do is have a particle of faith that eventually that purpose will be made known to you, your trials, your tribulations, and the very cautionary things that you find yourself in. I'm humbled when I come to these places of memorial, because it is supposed to be a reflective time, reflective of who you are supposed to be at the core. And I often come to these areas when I am personally going through a hardship or a particular discomfort of spirit, because it helps me to reconnect to what's important. Helps me to reconnect to that greater power, if you will, that I can go on. that because I am not dead, I still have a purpose. I can still have an effect on the world around me. That is my challenge to the people, is to not give up faith or hope. We watch on the news of our governments in turmoil, people being killed because of ethnic cleansing, religions being persecuted. Know that it is for a purpose. And your design is to make your world the best place it can be, so far as you are able to affect it. And so your commission by God, by your design and creator, is to give it your 100%, your full initiative, your full punch, to make an effect, first and foremost on your own soul, and then on your family, and let that grow into the world around you. These things I feel are important as we continue on into this digital age where we feel so connected but yet unconnected. I believe it is actually ironic, but it also is a prophecy. We now have the reality of Wi-Fi, which was something, 20, 30 years ago was, if it was even considered, was generations down the road. And yet we are all converted to the reality of it. We have information due to Wi-Fi. And yet, the original Wi-Fi is the connection we have to God. Prayer. If this is real, then why couldn't prayer be real? And if prayer is real, that means there's a God. And if there's a God, then so long as you have breath in your lungs, you have a purpose. So I guess, for the last few seconds here, I will show you a little bit of Manti Memorial Park here in, southwest Iowa. It's in the outskirts of Shenandoah, Iowa. But it's a beautiful place. But let it serve as a reminder to not only you, but me and everybody else, that we are called to endure hardships. And yet how we react to hardships is key into building up who we are going to be in the eternities. Let that be your truth. And we can go forth. Thank you.